How are you guys doing today? And happy Wednesday. Super excited to be here because we are kicking off National Travel Advisor Month. So happy National Travel Advisor Month to all of you all. And hopefully you've got great plans for the month of May 2024. So excited that it all, like the stars all aligned. Wednesday landed on May 1st. And it is the month that we celebrate you, the travel advisor, me, the travel advisor, all things travel advisor. So if you are registered with any supplier, I am sure that you have received an inundated amount of emails, accolades on how amazing you all are as travel advisors. So want to start off by welcome to chapter 5 of 2024. And then also say happy Travel Advisor Month, and let's get kicked off. I don't think today is like the actual day. I think is it the first Wednesday of the month? I'm always really bad with dates, but I do know that May is the month that we kick off celebrating travel advisors. So this is one of my favorite months for years. I have done something special around this month, and this month is no different than any other year when it comes to celebrating you as a travel advisor. So as we get started, it's been a couple weeks since I have joined you all. Let me know where you are watching from and what you are drinking. I am in the state of Georgia, Peach State, and I am drinking some water with some lemon juice in it. And again, super excited to be here with you all tonight. So while you guys let me know where you're watching from and what you're drinking, I want to start off with just a couple of questions to sort of set the stage for what we're going to be talking about today. So the first question that I want to ask you guys, how many of you guys would love to have luxury clients just show up in your inbox, show up on your email list, join your group? High-end clients, and let's define what high-end clients is. They're willing and they meet the criteria for whatever you think a high-end client or a high-value client is, right? May it be that they spend a lot of money on trips, maybe they like a certain type of experience, but they are high value to you based on your criteria. How many of you all would love for those types of clients to just show up in your inbox, right? Start booking discovery calls with you, start submitting travel requests. Let me know in the comments. I was talking to a client earlier today, and one of the questions that I ask clients that I'm first meeting with is, who's your who? Like, who's your ideal client? And her response to me was, I just want to not deal with budget travelers. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against people who are traveling on a budget. Nothing wrong. And as a travel advisor, if I were to service that community, my service of that community would be a whole lot different than how I would show up for a luxury client. Not that I would give them different service, but my marketing would be different. And the way that I attracted said client would be a little bit different because the needs potentially are different and where they are at and where they are in their life are a little bit different. But understanding your who is the first part. So again, let me know in comments, how many of you would love to have whatever your definition of high value is, have those clients end up in your inbox sort of on autopilot. I know I love it when my perfect client like shows up in my inbox and I'm able to tell that. Like that's pretty exciting. I remember when I first started advertising in just advertising in general, not just for the travel business, but when I started advertising, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. So I started in the coaching space as a coach for salon. My background is we had a barbershop, and so I was a business coach for salon owners before we transitioned into the travel space. And I was just always so tickled pink when I would run an ad or I would, do some sort of promotion, and salon owners, not just any salon owners, not independent. I was looking for salon owners that had a certain number of chairs and they just showed up in my inbox. That was like a good feeling. And how did I know? It's because I like sort of stalked their pages. Like, how many of you guys stalk your clients' pages to see, like, if you're doing ads, you got to figure out if your ads are hitting or not. So I would go to their site, I'd go to their website and be like, yep, you got 6 shares. Yep, you got 7 shares. Yep, you got 10 shares. And I was super excited about knowing that the attraction system that I had put in place was attracting the right type of client. Fast forward to travel, same thing. If there is a specific type of client that I'm after, and I just do a little bit of investigation and I can validate that the client that I'm looking for is the client that actually opts in, that's a win-win. And that just makes me feel good. Like I always like to say, I hit it out of the park when it comes to my attraction system. And we largely do paid advertising. So we want to make sure that our ads are actually doing what they're supposed to do. So many of you guys are responding, yes, I would love that. That would be great. And so let me say, all of us want that, right? If you are in business for profit or even not profit, you want to have your perfect client show up in your inbox, right? I was watching, I think I was watching some guy I follow on Facebook, and he's got a reel and he's a major introvert. And one of the things that he said is like, introverts, when they're dating, they just want, the only way that they're going to start to date is if the perfect person just shows up at their doorstep. And that's really what we want as business owners, is that our perfect people magically find us and just show up at our doorstep. But the thing is we're not Cinderella, and Prince Charming just doesn't show out of nowhere. We've got to actually do something to get our people to raise their hand and notice us. So today we're going to talk about, how do you identify and attract your high value client, whatever high value means to you? Because high value doesn't always mean it's got to be high ticket, right? So I'm going to let you define what high value means for your business. But whatever that means for your business, we want to attract them. We want them to show up and find us sort of automatically, right? So we want to sort of be Cinderella and have those people be our person that finds us. So before I get started, for those that are new to my channel, new to me, my name is Sundey Gardner. I am the founder and CEO of Online Travel Boss School, and also our newest product, which is Travel Pro Suite, which is an all-in-one solution to help travel advisors simplify the way that they do business. So super excited to be here today, and we're going to talk about 5 strategies that you as a travel advisor can implement to help you identify and attract your ideal client. So let me know in comments if you're game to learn about these 5 strategies. So we're going to start with number 1. So how many of you guys are using social media? You know, if you are new to Facebook, maybe you don't know, but I am not new to Facebook. I've been on Facebook since 2009, I think. And so I've been on Facebook for a minute. And so just this last month, they implemented a new feature. I don't know that I think it's a great feature, but they implemented a new feature that prevents external sites from posting on Facebook groups. And I tell you this because what I'm about to tell you is kind of like it's always been my bread and butter in terms of like getting engagement. But communities are wonderful opportunities for advisors to create a tribe of sorts, right? YouTube is another community location. Instagram is another location. And so when most people think about social media, they're like, yeah, I need to be on Facebook, I need to be here, I need to be there. But they're really not trying to build a community. So sort of going a little bit off tangent, but what I want you to think about when you think about social media, it's your ability to show up in these social platforms and either show up in a space where you've aggregated your ideal client or prospective ideal clients, or you're on your business page or personal page and your ideal client is there, right? So if you aren't doing anything to create that sort of social media presence, social media isn't really going to do a great thing for you if you aren't being social and getting in front of the right people. So I want to just preface this by saying, when I talk about social media, I'm not just talking random social media. I'm not talking social media in just sort of the general sense. It's the usage of social media to be social with the people that you want to work with, right? So that's creating a space for yourself where you can be visible to those people. For those that tell me that social media doesn't work, it's because you don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't want to burst your bubble, but that's the reality. You don't know what you're doing. You're not using social media for what it's intended for, which is to be social and visible to the people that you want. 2.5 billion people are on Facebook every single month, right? Instagram, I think it's like 1 point something. TikTok, those numbers are growing. Pinterest, YouTube, pick a platform. There are billions, millions of people on those platforms. So your ideal client is likely on one of those many different platforms, if not all of them. So what we want to do is use social media to have them find us and to discover us, right? Because it's so much cheaper than it was, years ago to run a radio ad, to run a newspaper ad. So being visible on social media is such a viable option for travel advisors. And there's so many different ways to show up on those platforms to be visible. So that's another story for another day. But here's number one strategy is, if you want to attract your high value client, the first thing that I want you to take away as a strategy is create a poll or a quiz and post it on social media. And not just any poll or any quiz. We want to be strategic about said poll or quiz on social media. And here's an example of how you be strategic. What is your luxury travel personality? And you may be saying, well, what are the right answers? How does that help me? So let me tell you why this is such a great question to ask. If you want to attract luxury buyers and people akin themselves to being a luxury travel, or someone who knows all about what lux means, right? People love these kinds of questions, right? How many of you guys have taken those? I mean, I see it all the time on so many people's timelines. Those quizzes that show, what's your year gonna. So to actually have a quiz that's around your ideal client, that's going to really poke to somebody's sense of wanting that thing or resonating with that thing, is a perfect question, because the results of that question will immediately allow you to segment a person. So let me talk about, the strategy is great, but you got to implement it properly. So let me talk to you about why this is such a great idea and why this works. Is because if somebody answers your quiz, right, and let's say you have 4 options for luxury travel, right, like your ultra lux, right, your butler service, or whatever that answer is, maybe your mid lux, maybe your boho lux, whatever those designations that you ultimately come up with answers, allows you to segment your clients or your prospective clients based on the type of traveler that they end up being. But then you may say to yourself, well, Sundey, I don't even know how to do that. Slides in ChatGPT, right? You guys know I can't have a conversation without inserting my best friend, right? Which is ChatGPT. And it's no longer my best friend in my head. Like, that literally is a tool that I use multiple times a day and every day. So what I would say is create a poll, and not even really a poll, a quiz, because what you want is people to answer questions that are going to give them a result that you can then deliver to them via email, or deliver it to them via messenger, right? And the reason why this is such a powerful strategy is because you could have ChatGPT help you design the quiz, this is what ChatGPT does well, is that you put in your parameters and say that you want 4 different criteria responses that allow you to segment your client base, and it'll pop out questions for you to ask and ultimately a quiz for you to create that you could post on social media. And the people that opt in to do that quiz, they'll get a result and then you can segment. That to me is like the cat's meow. And why does that attract your high value client? Because the quiz in and of itself, the people that actually take it, there'll be some yahoos that aren't your ideal client, right? There'll be some people though that are your ideal client, and that is the whole purpose of marketing, is to be able to have people opt in and it either weed themselves out or segments people based on criteria that you can then create content around. So let's say you had 4 options, right? So it could be a moderate luxury travel. It could be an extravagant, right? And I'd create like all these, like I'd have ChatGPT create all these wonderful names for me, Diva RS, traveler, right? Diva travel or whatever, right? I'm kind of being silly here, but I would like ask ChatGPT to create some really unique, either if you're a sexy person or a creative person or a fun person, I'd have it create names or personas for my luxury traveler types. And then based on those answers, I would then send special email series to those different types of travelers with a call to action to book a call with me. All right. Again, the people that fall into these different segments, there will be some that are yahoos and are, they're just taking it because they love to take quizzes and they really aren't your ideal client. That's fine. Those people, you'll be able to weed them out. The other people, there'll be some actual people. As long as you're driving traffic to this thing that we create, it will work. Do you know why? Because it's a numbers game. It will work. So if you drive traffic to the thing that we're talking about, it will work. And as long as you've got the right targeting. So number 1 is I really like the quiz because the quiz is more in depth and I can use ChatGPT to do it. Polls are great too. So it's one question, you have some answers. Difficult to create automation around it, but I will tell you that our tool does allow you to create automation based on answers. So if I were going to do a poll, I wouldn't do a multiple choice poll. I would ask on my business page for people to respond with a type of response. So I would say, what kind of travel are you? And then I would say, respond 1, 2, 3, or 4, right? And then have a definition of 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then I would set up an automation that would respond to people based on that. Our tool allows you to do that inside of your business page. So if people respond on your business page to a poll or question that you do, we can run an entire automation series around that. It is amazing. So number 2 is I would do a behind the scenes with a call to action of me planning a type of trip that represents the type of high ticket or high value client that I want. So if I want luxury travel and let's say my destination that I want to sell more of is Bali, and I keep picking Bali because we're going to Bali in August. So this is my new destination of the year because we ultimately that's what we're doing this year is we're Bali in August. And so if I wanted to focus on Bali as my signature destination, I would do a behind the scenes on what it's like to plan a luxury trip in Bali. And then my call to action would be reply Bali if you want to learn more, or reply Bali. We got another great feature inside of our tool where people can look at a video and midway through the video to watch the video, they actually have to put in their email address to finish watching the video. So I would send traffic, I'd do a post, have them click on the video that would be hosted inside of our platform. And then once they got like midway through where it really got juicy, I'd say, put your email address in to watch the rest. And then we would kick off automation on that. That would be my number 2. Why this works? Because again, those people that click on it, they're interested in Bali. they're interested in a luxurious experience, right? Because nobody watches stuff that they're not interested in. Maybe again, you're going to get some yahoos because again, I want you to think about this as a numbers game. It's not that you're just trying to get 10, you're trying to get multiple people who are interested and who click, because those click patterns, those behaviors represent audiences that you can market to in the future, ways that you can segment them and get them on your list in the future and run promotions to. So the objective in here, in what we're talking about today, is to attract the person that resonates with the content piece that you've created. So doing a video about you talking about your planning process demonstrates, one, your expertise around there. I would talk about problems potentially that you encounter in planning that the average Joe, Jane, wouldn't necessarily think of, right? Bali is over 24 hours away from the United States. Pretty much no matter how you swing it, 16 hours away from the West Coast. If you're traveling through Dubai or whatever, like we couldn't figure it out to be less than a full day trip, right? So the average person probably doesn't know that. They probably have heard about Bali, but they don't know how to get to Bali or what it's going to take to think about that. So that'd be something that I would talk about behind the scenes, is coordinating getting to the destination and creating a 2-for-1 in that destination and experiencing Singapore and Bali at the same time. Makes sense? So number 2 is behind the scenes video on what my ideal client, my high-end client, what planning a trip looks like for them, right? So planning a special, like, reserving a villa, right? What that looks like for a group trip, right? So that's what I would do for number 2, is behind the scenes. People, I think as travel advisors, I've talked to some of the travel advisors and they're like, well, I don't want to give my secret sauce away because if I tell them how to do it, then they're not going to want to use me. And that's the furthest thing from the truth, because what I can tell you about people is people are lazy. People in general are lazy. And even though you may tell them every single step of what it takes to do it, there are going to be some percentage of the people who are like, yeah, that's great. Thank you for all that, but I don't want to do it. So anyway, so I'm glad that you know how to do it. So can you just sign me up and let me know what I need to do to take care of that, right? And obviously that's who you want to cater to. So, and I was just talking to a client yesterday about it. Like I'm totally type A. And although I know how to do things, and I know how to do a lot of things really well, what I've learned, the older that I've got, is I need to let other people who have superpowers do those things for me and me focus on the things that I do really well, right? So just because I don't do the thing doesn't mean that I don't want to understand your process, because I don't want to control it, but I want to hear and see that you know what you're doing, right? Because I'm a big process person. I'm a workflow person. So I just want to hear in conversation that you know what you're doing. And so you demonstrating that to me in a behind the scenes, talking about all the things that it takes to get out of town, doesn't make me want to do it myself. It just makes me understand that you got me covered and I'm good to spend my dollars with you. Does that make sense? So behind the scenes for a person like me makes a whole lot of sense, because again, I want to validate, and it's the quickest way for me to see that you know what you're doing. Like I will, when it comes to like picking resources, vendors or suppliers that are providing me services, when I go to their site, I go to their YouTube channel, I go to their whatever, I am more likely to pick somebody who's got what they do and what their process, and they explain their process to me, than somebody who doesn't. That's just me. Doesn't mean everybody's like me, but there are a lot of people like me, and I want to work with people who are like me in terms of process oriented, right? Who do you want to work with and what would cater to them? That would be the style of the behind the scenes that I wanted to do. Like if my people were all fun and they wanted a party, I would talk about how party planning is important, right? So again, know who your audience is and create content that's going to speak to them. So number 3 is, if you don't like video and you're like, yeah, thanks, Sundey, but I don't really like videos so much and I don't really want to show up, so then do a blog. So number 3 is share a blog story and write and describe how you've either planned a trip in the past or how you would plan a luxury trip or a high value trip for your said client. So For those of you who are like, well, I've never done it before, I don't know how to do it. Well, this is the time for you to figure out how you would do it and talk about it in a blog, right? Create some points. So similarly, like and what I love about 2 and 3 is that you could use the same content. You could create yourself a list of steps of what you would do or what you would talk about for your video, that script, and then you could then create that into a blog and talk about the same thing. This means you've got to create a whole new content. I love the whole idea of reusing content, same content topic and delivering it in different formats. So video and in the written format. So the reason again why this works well is because we have people who are different learners or different consumers. People like to read. I like to read. I sit up in bed way too much in the morning and I'm scrolling through video for ideas, people's video. But I also, before I go to bed, I like to read. So I'm reading blogs, I'm reading articles. I also like to listen. So I like to appeal to all the senses that people like to consume things. They like to see things, they like to hear things, and they like to read things. So your show up game should be in all 3 of those different spaces. So 3 is share a blog that speaks to your high value client. So an example would be is planning, I wrote this down, planning a luxurious trip to Greece. And what I would talk about in that blog is what it would be. I wrote like what it's like to plan a private dinner on a secluded beach. Like, how do you find the beach? How do you get, how do you reserve the beach space? Who do you go through? What, and maybe it's not even the whole trip. It's just like creating special events out of the country and what that looks like, right? That's what the blog could be about. So it doesn't even have to be about the whole trip. It could just be around some very specific part of the trip. Now, a budget person is not likely to be planning a private dinner on a secluded beach, right? They may want to, but it's not likely that they're going to be able to, right? So I'd be talking about in this blog budget, how much money you should plan for said thing. So it's clear, right? You need to be ready to put a couple of $1,000s down on said dinner, right? Because again, the people who click and they do this, they're not going to be surprised when you have a conversation with them when they get to the discovery call. Like if you segment all the people who clicked on this blog or read this blog and you start sending email to them and you get them ultimately on a discovery call and you ask them how'd they hear about you, like, yeah, I read your blog. And they're not going to be shocked that you say it's $2,500, $3,000 just for the dinner, right? Because you already talked about it. It's going to be a part of your intake form. So again, the fact that somebody clicks on that blog, they read that blog, they've already self-selected themselves as a potential candidate and a potential lead. So number 3 and 2, and actually all of these is really about self-selection and having people raise their hand because they're like, yes, I want that thing, or I can relate to that thing, and I possibly would be interested in that thing. That's how we get people in our hook. Number 4. You guys know I love me a good live. So host a live, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and answer questions about luxury travel. Again, I'm assuming high value means luxe travel for you. It may not mean. So whatever your topic is that creates value for you and it's high value from a client perspective, create a live built around a Q&A. Now, what I get from people when I talk about doing a live is, well, what if nobody shows up, right? That's like our number one fear is I host a live and it's crickets. And the point is not the attendees. The point is the content, because if you create the content, people can show up today, next week, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, it doesn't matter. So here's the trick when you're hosting a live that's an FAQ is have a list of questions already prepared in the event that nobody is there live with you. So you go through your list of questions and you are just answering the questions. You ask the question and you say, many of my clients ask this, right? Ask the question and then you answer it. ask the question and then you answer it, or you state the question and then you answer it. So you don't necessarily need people to join you live, but the value and the reason why this works is because it's an event. So there will be people that will register for the event if you promote it. They register for the event and they've segmented themselves naturally because they've expressed interest in the event. So now you've got a list of people who said they wanted to attend. So it doesn't matter. I don't want you to even get hung up on the attendees. I want you to get hung up on the registration people, because those people are now people on your list. Those people are now people that you know are interested in luxury travel. Those people are people that you can now send an email series to. You can invite to another event. You can promote to. You can invite to the next event if it's a series. Those people are interested in luxury travel because they registered for the event. Now, don't get me wrong. I love live attendees because I don't necessarily like to talk to the screen. But the older I get, in the many years that I've been doing this, I don't really care about talking to a blank screen, because again, what I'm doing is creating valuable content that will get consumed, because I am doing YouTube really well these days, right? And so what I know about YouTube is the shelf life of a YouTube video is years long. Let me give you an example of how I know it's years long. I did a video back in 2018 called Why I Love Outside Agents, right? I did this video. It was one of 5 videos my video coach at the time told me to post. And still to this day, I'm trying to do the math. How many years away from 2018 to now? So that's 2 plus 4. That's 6 years ago. I did this video I did it in like December, because it was part of a holiday hustle challenge that she did. I did this video back in, I think I did it in the spring. It doesn't matter when I did it. It was back in 2018. I did this video, and it's still my #1 video watched today. I actually need to do a sequel to the video as to why I left Outside Agents, but I'm telling you, still some 6 years later, it is still the most popular video. And literally it was 5 reasons I wrote down on a piece of paper as to why Outside Agents was the bomb.com for me, right? And why I thought it was great. And I still get comments on it. So what I know about YouTube is, I don't care if you show up live on YouTube. I don't care if you show up live on Facebook or Instagram. I want the content to be there for future users to consume it. What I love about YouTube these days is that people who watch your videos on YouTube, they want the knowledge that you give. They've searched for you most of the time to find that knowledge. So if you are creating answers to the questions that your ideal client is looking for, it will get consumed. It may not be immediately, but it ultimately will get consumed. Pinterest is another great platform to do the same thing. So you can upload video on Pinterest. I don't think you can do live, so you can do a recorded video with the same type of content. Common questions around luxury travel that you need to consider, or common mistakes that luxury travelers don't think about, right? Or pitfalls, great things or bad things that people need to do. These are all great content pieces. So number 5, post a client testimonial. So some people are like, well, I don't have client testimonials. Well, I just did last month a whole series on why you need a testimonial game, right? You need to make sure that you've got a process by which you capture testimonials. And let's say you don't have testimonials, but you have previous clients that have worked with you, I always love to invite them on a video chat so I can interview them and make it worth their while. So I'll give them something. I love giving people stuff. It makes me feel good. So you should also try it, because it works. People love receiving stuff. So if you don't have any testimonials, that's your campaign, is your previous clients you need to invite to a video recorded interview where you're going to interview them with questions so that you can get their testimonials on camera, because video testimonials are great. Don't say that written testimonials are not good, but video testimonials are awesome. Because why? Because they do the same thing that the other videos I said. You can put them on YouTube and they live forever. You have written testimonials. You should have a process by which you're capturing written testimonials that you can use in your marketing. So using testimonials that describe your high value client and how they had a great experience with you is a great way to showcase and attract other people. Because what people love, and this is also a great thing to know about the psychology of people love to do stuff that other people like them have done. Like, that's just a fact. Like, if somebody is your ideal client and they see other people that they resonate with talking and doing that thing, they want to do it just because they see other people. It takes the fear away and the risk away from them. They don't think, oh, I'm the first one that's using her or him. Someone else is doing it and they've had a positive experience. So it reinforces psychologically that this person is a good person for them to pursue services with, right? So testimonial, I cannot have you guys downplay the value proposition that testimonials have. And so if you don't have testimonials and you do have previous clients that have had good experiences, my recommendation is to host a campaign or create a campaign of testimonial solicitation or a testimonial drive where you actually invite people to interview so that you can get those testimonials on camera. And then that becomes sort of your testimonial bank that you can use in future marketing. All right. Here's the lesson out of all that I've said tonight is that if you want to attract and you want to identify your ideal high level, high value client, it starts with you. It doesn't start with them, it starts with you, right? One, you've got to be able to attract them. So that means you've got to know who they are. Who are those people that you want to attract and see you and find you and discover you? And it can't be vague, right? So, if you tell me I want high-end clients, what the hell does that mean? What does high-end client mean to you, right? And a lot of people will, well, I want them to be 30 to 35. I want them to not be budget users. I want them to do fill in the blank. That really isn't really a definition. To give you a definition, I got a client I'm working with, and we've been working through her niche, and I just, every time I think about what she's come up with, like, I just get goosebumps because her niche, and so she's like the spotlight niche that I'm really just in love with this last quarter, is her specialty is around working with cancer survivors. And so she wants to work with cancer survivors and create celebration travel experiences for cancer survivors. I'm just like every time I think about it, I'm like close to just like you said, to get it together, right? But like, how powerful is that, right? The who is clear, the value proposition that you bring to the table is clear. Well, can we find those people? Yes, they're clear. Like, all the recipe for a great ideal client is there. And not only that, the way that she shows up, like it's just all clear, right? So the way to attract them is to know who they are, number one. So if you don't know who it is and you aren't super clear, I mean, literally, when I was talking today with one of my clients, she was like, I don't want to narrow people out. And I'm like, why not? Like, why wouldn't you? I want everybody to fit into a box, right? The reason why is because the more I can get people to fit into a box, the easier it is for me to talk to them, for me to find them, for me to know what their problems are, know why they can't get themselves out of town, know why I can get them out of town better than anybody else, right? So in this situation, I want to color in the lines. I want to create the box so that I know who it is that I want to talk to and who I want to go find and who I want to attract. So number one is you got to know who the who is that you want to work with. Number two is you as a travel advisor, you've got to create a way to attract them. It's not up to them to find you. It's up to you to find them and get in front of them. And so that really is around creating content that's going to have them raise their hand and say, that is me, and I want all of that you're talking about, right? So number two is about attracting them once you've identified. Number three is around relating to them, engaging with them. So I gave you a bunch of engagement ways. I talked about email. I talked about responding via post. I've talked about getting a community, right? Engaging with your people in a way that creates a sort of tribe and community. If you can tribe build around your niche, you will always have someone to promote with. You will always have someone to buy your trips. You will always have somebody to invite to events, invite to your group trips, invite to book a call. Building a tribe is the most powerful way that you can sell, is building a tribe around who you want to help get out of town. Number 4 is you've got to invite them to the next action, whatever that may be. So either attend an event, join a discovery call, join you on your next group trip, whatever that event is, you want to always be in some invitation. And this literally is my ARC system. So I've talked to you guys in the past about ARC, and it stands for attract, relate, and convert. But you got to know the who in order to do that. So that's really the lesson. If you want to stop chasing ghosts, people that ghost you, then you got to do a really good job of being the person that is attractive to the person that you want to get out of town. So listen, I will talk to you guys soon. I won't talk to you next week because we are having our Sweet Success of the month. And so for those that may not know what our Sweet Success workshops are, those are 3-day workshops that we hold every month. This month, in the month of May, we're going to be talking about mastering your travel request process. So if you missed that workshop, I think we hosted that workshop, I think almost 6 months ago. So if you missed that workshop, this is your last time. I think we may be doing it one more time, but it won't be for another 6 months. So what are we in 4? So 6. So it will be in the 4th quarter, last time we hosted. So if you want to learn about how to standardize your travel request process, you're going to want to join us next week in our Sweet Success workshop that starts Monday through Wednesday. It's 3 days from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be talking all things standardized, the way that you accept inquiries and get them to convert to bookings. So I will see you in that workshop. So we won't be live next Wednesday because we'll be hosting that workshop. And to register, all you have to do is you can reply inside of this post. You can reply let's say what's going to be the keyword. Let's say travel requests, and then I will get you the link. But if you are a good typer, it's onlinetravelboss.com/Sweet Success, and that will get you to the registration page of our upcoming Sweet Success workshop. Listen, it was a great evening tonight. I look forward to seeing you guys all month long through the Travel Advisor Month, and you guys have a great start to your chapter 5, and I'll talk to you soon.